Okay, so today we are going to do a deep dive on something pretty fascinating, self-balancing wheelchairs.
Yeah, a really cool concept with huge potential to, change the game for people with mobility issues.
Right, like navigating rough terrain, ramps, all that stuff.
Exactly. Like imagine being able to go pretty much anywhere without having to worry about tipping over.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and we're going to look at two research papers from Iranian journals, and they go into detail on how some engineers actually designed and built a prototype of one of these.
A working prototype.
Yeah, and get us, they use 3D printing for a bunch of the parts.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
It's becoming more and more common to use rapid prototyping with 3D printing in engineering, just because it lets you test and refine things so much faster.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, in both these papers, they talk about this thing called a 3RRS mechanism. What in the world is that?
Okay, so imagine like a typical wheelchair. The seat's fixed, right?
Yeah.
But with this 3RS mechanism, the seat can actually tilt and adjust its height while staying level.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's how it keeps the rider stable even when you're going over uneven ground.
Yeah, so it's like constantly making these tiny adjustments to stay upright.
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it all comes down to like this really clever combination of joints and links. You can almost think of it like a high-tech tripod.
Okay.
So you've got a base platform that's attached to the wheels,
Right,
right?
right.
And then a moving platform, which is where the person would sit.
Okay.
And these two platforms are connected by three identical legs. And each of these legs has this special kind of joint called a spherical joint.
So instead of the seat being like rigidly attached, it's connected by these legs that can kind of move around.
Yeah, exactly. And each leg also has two links. So it's almost like bones connected by these spherical joints. And these spherical joints allow for a lot of movement, kind of like the ball and socket joint in your shoulder.
Oh, I see.
So that's what gives the seat that flexibility to tilt and move up and down.
Okay. Okay, so we've got these kind of flexible legs with these spherical joints, but how does the wheelchair actually know how to adjust itself to stay balanced?
Right. So that's where the control system comes in. It uses sensors, gyroscopes, and accelerometers, which are constantly monitoring the wheelchair's tilt and its height.
Wait, gyroscopes and accelerometers, like the things in our smartphones?
Yeah, exactly. Just like your phone knows when you're tilting it, these sensors in the wheelchair, they tell the chair which way it's leaning.
Oh, so it's like the chair is basically sensing its own movements,
Mhm.
and then what does it send signals to the wheels to adjust?
Not quite. So the signals actually go to three servo motors that control the leg.
Okay.
And these motors, they generate the exact amount of force that's needed to keep the seat level.
So it's like this constant like dance between the sensors and the control system and these motors all working together to keep everything balanced.
Exactly. The sensors detect any tilting or height, changes the control system, calculates what needs to be done, and the motors make it happen all in real time. It's really remarkable engineering.
Yeah, it sounds like it
Yeah.
it sounds super complicated. Like how do they actually translate those sensor readings into movements of the chair?
Well, it all starts with the 3RS mechanism and understanding the physics of how the legs actually move.
Okay.
They had to come up with these mathematical models to describe those movements and how they impact the chair's balance overall.
Wow, so they're not just building a wheelchair, they're like figuring out the science behind how it moves?
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Yeah, they used equations to like predict how the wheelchair is going to respond in different situations, like going up a ramp or being on a slope.
Wow. Okay, so how do they actually bring this from equations on paper to a real prototype?
So this is where the 3D printing comes in. It allowed them to test out different designs for the legs and other parts really quickly.
Oh, so they could like make changes and then immediately see how those changes affect the chair.
Yeah, and it really speeds up the whole design process.
So did they 3D print the whole wheelchair?
Not the whole thing. They used it for a lot of the components, but they still had to use, motor sensors, the control system to make it all work.
Oh, okay. So it's not just like printing out a toy car or something. This
Right.
is like serious engineering.
Yeah, for sure. So in their experiments, they showed that the prototype could actually handle ramps and uneven surfaces while keeping the seat level.
Oh, wow. So it actually worked.
It did, yeah, it was pretty successful, but they also mentioned that there's definitely room for improvement.
Like what kind of things? What were some of the challenges?
Well, one of the big things is making sure that those 3D printed parts are strong enough, for everyday use.
Right, because it has to be safe.
Exactly. Safety and durability are really important, especially for something like this. And they also have to think about the weight of the person using the wheelchair.
Yeah, I was just thinking that does the control system have to like adjust based on how much the person weighs?
Yeah, definitely. They want to make sure that it provides a comfortable ride for anyone, regardless of their weight.
Okay, so it's all about finding the right balance between like functionality and safety and comfort.
Exactly.
What did they say about the future of this technology, like any potential upgrades?
They mentioned some things like using even more advanced control algorithms to make the ride smoother.
Even smoother?
Yeah, like they're thinking about personalizing it too, so that users can adjust settings based on their own preferences.
Oh, wow. So it's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Right. It's all about making it as user-friendly as possible.
It's really cool to see how far assistive technology has come. Like I can't even imagine what it was like even just a few years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how technology is changing people's lives.
Yeah, it really is amazing to see what's possible when engineers can really put their minds to it.
Definitely. And I think what's really interesting about this self-balancing wheelchair is that it kind of changes the way we think about wheelchairs.
Right? It's not just a way to get around anymore.
Yeah, it's about giving people a level of freedom and stability that we haven't really seen before.
Yeah, like thinking back to that 3RS mechanism and how the seat can actually like adjust its height and tilt. That's huge for navigating, like bumpy surfaces and stuff.
Absolutely. And then the control system is constantly working in the background to make sure everything's smooth and stable.
Yeah, it's like having a built-in co-pilot that's always looking out for you.
That's a great way to put it.
It really makes you wonder what else is possible. If we can do this, what other kinds of problems can we solve?
It's a good question. I think the potential for assistive technology is pretty much limitless, especially with all the advances we're seeing in artificial intelligence.
Yeah, like imagine a wheelchair that could actually learn your habits and adjust itself based on, what you usually do.
Yeah, or even a wheelchair that could talk to like smart home devices and make your whole environment more accessible.
Wow, that would be incredible.
Yeah, and honestly, I think we're just getting started.
Yeah, that's a good point. This research is a great example of how thinking outside the box can lead to some really amazing things.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess the big takeaway for everyone listening is that, this isn't just about wheelchairs. It's about how technology can be used to make life better for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. It's about pushing the boundaries and seeing what's possible.
Exactly. Who knows what amazing things we'll be able to do in the future.
I can't wait to find out.
Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive. I really appreciate you taking the time to break all this down for us.
It was my pleasure.
And for everyone listening, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time for another deep dives into the world of innovation.